No one was truly prepared when those words came out of Zhang Linghe's mouth. Even longtime fans who had been speculating, even those who monitored his every little interaction with Zhao Jinmai, still did not expect that day to be the day that changed everything. Before the event began, the venue was filled with the usual excitement: laughter, soft lighting, large posters displaying Lingi's handsome face, and rows of fans carrying heart-shaped light sticks. No one knew that in a moment, the arena that had been just another venue for a fan meeting would witness a moment that would be remembered for years to come. Zhang Linghe entered the stage with his familiar smile, warm, calm, and reassuring. But anyone who looked closely would notice that something was different that day. His eyes held something, a new courage, a decision that he seemed to have thought about over and over, but only now allowed himself to reveal. His fingers gripped the microphone more often, as if searching for support for what he was about to do. The fans suddenly became more sensitive, whispering to each other that maybe today something would be revealed. It all started with a simple question from a fan standing in the front row. Her voice trembled as she asked if Zhang Linghe was currently in love. It was a question that had often come up at events, but for some reason, the atmosphere was different that day. There was a long pause before Lingi answered, a pause that made the hearts of hundreds of people stop simultaneously. His smile appeared slowly, and his voice sounded softer than usual when he said, "There is love." Once again, he paused, as if to make sure he was ready for whatever would happen next. And then he added in a voice that shook the entire arena, "And this time, I won't hide it anymore." Those words immediately sent the room into hysterics. Some screamed in disbelief, some clutched their chests, some immediately burst into tears. But while the fans were still fixated on what he had just said, something else happened. Something much bigger. Zhang Linghe turned his head. And it wasn't just any turn of the head. He turned his head the way someone looks at the person they love. On the side of the stage stood a girl who suddenly felt like the whole world was looking at her. Zhao Jinmai, who was there as a surprise guest to support their latest project, froze in place. Her face, which usually looked calm and professional, was now filled with a mixture of surprise, happiness, embarrassment, and something so difficult to describe except with one word: love that had grown quietly. The audience saw that gaze. Everyone saw it. It was so honest, so gentle, so meaningful that it was easy for anyone to conclude what they had long suspected. The love between them was not just a rumor. When the camera captured Jinmai's face, his expression caused a stir on the internet even before the show ended. His cheeks were as red as the newly blooming spring. His eyes trembled, his lips parted slightly as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. He covered his face with his hands, but it only made it even more obvious that he was trying hard to hide his feelings and failing miserably. As Lingi continued to speak, the entire stage seemed to transform into the most iconic romantic drama scene. He said that all this time he had always maintained his privacy, always prioritized professionalism, but there were things that were too precious to keep hidden. His words did not mention anyone's name, but everyone knew who he was referring to. When Jinmai finally stepped onto the stage, the atmosphere became even more emotional. His steps seemed nervous, but also determined. He stood a few steps away from Lingi, and for a moment, the two just stared at each other without saying anything. A small smile appeared on Jinmai's face, and in that moment alone, the fans felt like they were witnessing two hearts that had been walking side by side finally finding their courage. In a soft but firm voice, Jinmai finally said, "You really said that? In front of everyone?" Lingi chuckled, a sound that was a mixture of relief and happiness, then nodded without the slightest hesitation. That nod alone was enough to make the fans scream again. After the event ended, rumors spread that behind the stage there was an even sweeter scene. Passing staff claimed to have seen Lingi approach Jinmai, asking if he was okay after what had just happened. Jinmai simply nodded, but his smile was too obvious to be misinterpreted. It is said that Lingi had said that he had wanted to say it for a long time, and that he believed Jinmai deserved someone who was brave enough to admit it, not someone who was always hiding. There were also reports that Jinmai replied with words that melted the hearts of anyone who heard them. "I don't want to hide anymore either." That sentence alone was enough to cause an uproar on the internet. Photos of the two of them leaving the venue closer than usual immediately went viral. They weren't holding hands, but they were close enough to show the comfort that only two people who know each other deeply have. Their steps were in rhythm, as if their feet chose to move in sync without realizing it. The street lights reflected their silhouettes, creating a scene that felt like a romantic movie poster. On social media, hashtags about the two of them immediately topped the trending list. Fans began digging up old moments, Lingi's gaze when Jinmai laughed, how Jinmai always looked happier when she was around him, how Lingi reflexively protected Jinmai from the crowd, how they both smiled shyly every time someone mentioned their relationship. All the pieces of the puzzle that were once incomplete now seemed to fit together perfectly. And perhaps the most striking thing was how they didn't deny anything. There was no hasty clarification. There was no subtle denial as usual. They just remained silent. A silence that didn't mean denial, but a silence that sounded like a soft confirmation. A silence that meant, yes, maybe there is something between us. That day became a turning point, not just for Zhang Linghe, not just for Zhao Jinmai, but for everyone who had quietly witnessed their emotional journey from the beginning. Two people who grew up in a world full of pressure finally found comfort in each other. Two hearts that were used to holding back were finally given room to breathe. Has their love been officially announced? Not yet. Have they made a direct statement? No. But for the first time, they didn't hide their feelings. Their gazes, their smiles, and the little moments they no longer concealed were the most beautiful confirmation anyone could give to the world. This is no longer just a rumor. It is no longer just speculation. It is the beginning of a story that is finally daring to reveal itself. And sometimes, the sweetest confession is not the one spoken in long sentences, but the one that only needs a single simple word. Love.